Hey, it's Thursday. I'm so glad you're with me today as we do this devotion together. One of the things that has to become so real to you is the voice of God, the commands of God and the Word of God. Because the Bible clearly defines that we walk by faith, not by sight. So many times we'll get a command from God. We'll read the Word of God. We'll feel our spirit jump inside of us, asking us to do something that may very much seem impossible. But when you know the voice of God and when you know the command of God, immediately the enemy will do something to try to contradict what you just heard, what you just read, what you feel like you need to do. And he'll usually do these things that pertain to our sight. He'll show us something, the enemy will, that will contradict the very voice of God or the command of God or the Word of God. And what I mean by that is kind of like the story of Peter. Peter is in a boat and Jesus is on the water. And Jesus just clearly makes this one declaration to Peter. He just says, "Come." And at that moment, Peter is standing on something that is somewhat stable. He's on a boat, he's on water, and he is floating. But the command was to come, which required him to step out of comfort and onto a place that he wasn't necessarily sure that the water would hold him up. And immediately when he steps, he's stepping on word, he's stepping on faith, he's stepping on the command of God. But what does the enemy do? He sends winds and waves to control his sight. See, the enemy is always after your sight because he wants to show things that are very much temporary, because everything that we see is temporary. But the things that we don't see, they're eternal. And what we don't see a lot of times is the word that God spoke. We don't see that the Spirit inside of us is leading us into a direction. And so a lot of times your vision has to be two parts. An internal vision to where you can see it on a painting inside of your mind, but you can't physically see it. And so it's trusting the voice. Whose voice are you listening to? Are you listening to the command of God that says, "Come, and I'll show you things that may seem impossible, and I will make them possible"? Or do you see the winds and the waves? Do you see this is impossible? Do you see there's never been anybody do it like this before? What do you see? Do you see the internal? Or do you see the external? Because let me encourage you today. The external, it's temporary. It will not last forever. But the internal, the unseen, that is eternal. And it will rest assured that it will be with you all the days of your life. Trust in the voice of God. Step out into unknown territory in faith and believe God for the possible, because nothing is impossible through those that believe. Because we walk by faith and not by sight. I hope you have a great Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow.